She knew, deep in her gut, beneath the growing life inside her, she knew something was wrong with him. But when she finally spoke up, when she finally told her husband that his best friend made her skin crawl, he did something she never expected. He chose him over her. 3 months later, on what should have been a day of celebration, that best friend would walk into their home and fire 5 bullets directly in her pregnant belly. This is the story of a woman who saw evil coming, a husband who refused to listen, and a friendship built on a lie so dark it would destroy everything they loved. Before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you ever had that gut feeling about someone? That instinct screaming at you that something isn't right, even when everyone else says you're overreacting? Drop a comment and tell me, do you trust your instincts, or do you ignore them to keep the peace? Because what you're about to hear is why ignoring those warnings can cost you everything. If you want to stay ahead of stories like this, stories that teach you to recognize danger before it's too late, hit that subscribe button right now. We're at 240 subscribers, and I need your help reaching 500 before December 31st. Don't wait until it's too late. Now, let's go back to where the nightmare actually began. It started so small she almost convinced herself she imagined it. 7 months pregnant, glowing with that mixture of exhaustion and joy only expectant mothers know. Olivia sat at the kitchen table one evening, her hand instinctively resting on her swollen belly. The baby, their miracle baby after 3 years of trying, had been restless all day, kicking and turning like he already knew the world outside wasn't safe. Her husband Marcus was in the living room, laughing at something on his phone. That laugh, the one she fell in love with 6 years ago, used to make her feel warm, safe. But tonight, it felt distant, because sitting across from her at that same kitchen table was Trevor, Marcus's best friend since childhood, his brother in everything but blood, the man who'd stood beside him at their wedding, who'd thrown him a surprise party when he got promoted, who showed up uninvited to every dinner, every celebration, every quiet moment that should have been theirs alone. Trevor smiled at her. It wasn't a normal smile. His eyes lingered too long on her lips, then lower, then back up to meet her gaze with something that made her stomach turn. "You're glowing, Liv," he said softly, his voice carrying a weight that felt wrong. "Pregnancy looks good on you. Really, really good." She forced a polite smile and stood up quickly, mumbling something about needing to check on dinner. But as she walked past him, his hand reached out, casual, friendly, innocent to anyone watching, and touched her lower back. Too low, too long, too deliberate. She flinched. Trevor's smile widened. That night, after Trevor finally left and Marcus was brushing his teeth before bed, Olivia stood in the bathroom doorway, her arms wrapped protectively around her belly. "Babe," she began carefully, "can I talk to you about something?" Marcus glanced at her reflection in the mirror. "What's up?" She hesitated. The words felt dangerous on her tongue, like speaking them aloud would break something she couldn't fix. "It's Trevor," she said quietly. "He makes me uncomfortable sometimes." Marcus stopped mid-brush. He turned slowly, toothpaste foam still at the corner of his mouth, and his expression shifted. Not to concern, to defense. "Uncomfortable how?" His tone was sharp. He looks at me weird. And tonight, he touched my back in a way that felt. Felt like what, Olivia? Marcus cut her off, his voice rising. Like a friend being friendly? That's Trevor. He's affectionate with everyone. You know that. Marcus, I'm not imagining. Yes, you are. He rinsed his mouth and turned back to her, frustration written across his face. You're pregnant. Your hormones are all over the place. Trevor has been my best friend for 25 years. He would never disrespect me like that. Or you. The finality in his voice was a door slamming shut. Olivia stood there, feeling her eyes burn with unshed tears. I'm not trying to turn you against him, she whispered. I just need you to hear me. But Marcus was already walking past her toward the bedroom. I heard you, he said without looking back. And I'm telling you you're wrong. That was the first time she tried to warn him. It wouldn't be the last. And each time she spoke up, Marcus defended Trevor harder, until the day she finally stopped speaking altogether. But here's the thing about silence. It doesn't protect you. It only gives predators more room to move. If you've ever been silenced by someone who should have protected you, drop a comment. Your story matters. And if this hits too close to home, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because understanding these patterns could save your life. 3 weeks later, Trevor showed up unannounced. Again, Olivia was alone, folding baby clothes in the nursery when she heard the knock. Her heart sank. She already knew who it was before she opened the door. Marcus isn't home, she said flatly, not moving to let him inside. Trevor leaned against the doorframe, that same unsettling smile on his face. I know. I came to see you. Her blood went cold. I don't think that's appropriate. Relax, Liv. He stepped forward, forcing her to back into the house. I just wanted to check on you. Marcus mentioned you've been stressed. Emotional. I thought maybe you needed someone to talk to. He closed the door behind him. The click of the latch felt like a trap snapping shut. I'm fine, Olivia said, her voice steady even as her pulse hammered in her ears. Really? You should go. But Trevor didn't go. He walked into her living room like he owned it, sat on her couch, and patted the cushion beside him. Sit with me, he said. Not a request. A command disguised as friendliness. Olivia stayed standing, her hand protectively over her belly. The baby kicked hard, as if sensing her fear. Trevor, I'm asking you to leave. His smile faded. For just a moment, she saw something flicker across his face, something dark and cold that made every instinct in her body scream run. But then he stood, laughed lightly, and shrugged. All right. Didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, Mama. Tell Marcus I stopped by. He walked past her, pausing at the door. You know, he said without turning around, Marcus is lucky to have you. Sometimes I wonder what it would have been like if you'd met me first. Then he left. Olivia locked the door, sank to the floor, and sobbed. When Marcus came home that night, she told him everything. Every word, every look, every touch. She begged him to see what she was seeing. This time, Marcus didn't just defend Trevor. He exploded. Are you seriously accusing my best friend of trying to make a move on my pregnant wife? He shouted, his face red with anger. Do you hear how insane that sounds? Marcus, please. No. He slammed his hand on the kitchen counter. I'm tired of this, Olivia. Every time Trevor comes around, you have some new complaint. Maybe the problem isn't him. Maybe it's you. The words hit her like a slap. She stood there, trembling, tears streaming down her face as the man she loved looked at her like she was the enemy. I'm your wife, she whispered. I'm carrying your child. Why won't you believe me? Marcus's jaw clenched. Because I know Trevor, and I don't know this version of you. He walked out of the room, and Olivia realized something that shattered her completely. Her husband had already chosen, and it wasn't her. That was the last time Olivia ever spoke Trevor's name to her husband. From that day forward, she carried her fear in silence, swallowing every instinct, every warning, every scream trapped in her throat. She told herself she was protecting her marriage. She didn't realize she was protecting a monster. Because Trevor? He wasn't just watching her anymore. He was planning. And the day he finally made his move would be the one day Marcus would never forget. His birthday. What would you have done in Olivia's place? Would you have stayed silent or risked everything to be heard? Comment below. I read every single one. And if you want to see how this nightmare unfolds, subscribe now. Help me hit 500 before the year ends. You won't want to miss what comes next. The clock was ticking. The warning signs were everywhere. and the man Marcus trusted most was about to destroy everything. But first, there's something you need to know about Trevor. Something even darker than what we've already seen. Stay tuned because the next chapter is coming, and the truth is worse than you think. In Chapter 1, Olivia tried to warn her husband Marcus about his best friend Trevor. She told him about the lingering stares, the inappropriate touches, the way Trevor looked at her, like she was something he deserved to own. But Marcus didn't just dismiss her warnings. He attacked her for speaking them. And in that moment, Olivia made a choice that would nearly cost her everything. She went silent. But silence doesn't stop predators. It feeds them. Because while Olivia was learning to swallow her fear, Trevor was across town, staring at photos of her on his phone, convincing himself that the life Marcus had built was actually his life stolen. This is the chapter where you'll understand that Trevor wasn't just dangerous. He was delusional, and delusion, when mixed with envy, becomes the deadliest weapon of all. Trevor and Marcus met in the 3rd grade. Two boys from broken homes, sitting alone at lunch, bonding over comic books, and shared bruises from fathers who drank too much. They became inseparable, brothers forged not by blood, but by survival. But even then, something was uneven. Marcus was the one people liked, the one teachers smiled at, the one who made friends easily, whose jokes landed, whose presence filled a room without effort. Trevor? He was always standing slightly behind him. The shadow, the sidekick, the one people tolerated because Marcus vouched for him. And Trevor noticed. He noticed when Marcus made the basketball team, and he didn't. He noticed when Marcus got the scholarship to college while Trevor had to work 2 jobs just to afford community classes. He noticed when girls looked at Marcus first, always first, and then maybe glanced at Trevor as an afterthought. Every achievement Marcus earned felt like something taken from him. Every milestone Marcus celebrated felt like a theft Trevor couldn't report. By the time they were both 32, the gap between them had become a canyon. Marcus had the career, a senior project manager at a tech firm, respected, well-paid, climbing steadily. Trevor? He bounced between warehouse jobs and gig work, always one bad month away from eviction, always watching Marcus rise while he stayed stuck. But it was manageable. Trevor could swallow the jealousy because Marcus was still his friend, still called him first, still invited him everywhere, still made him feel like he mattered. Then Marcus met Olivia, and everything Trevor had been swallowing turned to poison. The first time Trevor saw her, he knew. She was sitting at a coffee shop, laughing at something on her phone, sunlight catching her hair in a way that made her look like she'd walked out of a dream. Marcus had pointed her out nervously, asking Trevor if he should go talk to her. "She's out of her league, man," Trevor had joked. But Marcus went anyway, and she said yes to coffee, then dinner, then a second date, then forever. Trevor stood at their wedding 3 years later, forced to smile as Marcus slipped a ring on the finger of the woman who should have been his. Because in Trevor's mind, if life had been fair, if the universe hadn't always favored Marcus, he would have been the one to walk into that coffee shop first. He would have been the one she laughed with. He would have been the one living that life. Have you ever watched someone get everything you wanted and convince yourself you deserved it more? That's dangerous territory. If you want to understand how envy turns into evil, subscribe now. We're racing to 500 before December 31st, and these stories could save you from missing the warning signs in your own life. Trevor learned to live with the resentment. He stayed close, stayed loyal, played the role of best friend so well that even he sometimes forgot he was acting. But then Olivia got pregnant, and something inside Trevor shattered completely. It was a Saturday afternoon when Marcus called him, voice cracking with joy. "Bro, we're having a baby. We just found out. It's a boy." Trevor stood in his cramped studio apartment, staring at the peeling paint on his walls, listening to his best friend describe the future, the nursery they were planning, the names they were considering, the life they were building. A life Trevor would never have. And for the first time in 25 years, Trevor didn't congratulate him. He just said, "That's great, man," and hung up. Then he sat on the edge of his bed and wept. Not from happiness, from rage. That night, Trevor lay awake, staring at the ceiling, his thoughts spiraling into places they'd never gone before. Why does he get everything? Why does he get the perfect wife, the perfect job, the perfect life? What'd he do that I didn't? What makes him so special? Trevor pulled out his phone and scrolled through Marcus's social media. Every post was a reminder of what he'd been denied. Marcus and Olivia at the beach. Marcus and Olivia at a restaurant. Marcus and Olivia holding up the ultrasound photo, both of them glowing with joy that felt like mockery. Trevor zoomed in on Olivia's face. She was beautiful in a way that made his chest ache. Soft, kind, the type of woman who would have fixed the broken parts of him if she'd just been his instead. He imagined a different timeline, one where he met her first, where she fell in love with him, where was his child growing inside her, where Marcus was the one watching from the outside, learning what it felt like to lose. The thought didn't horrify him. It comforted him. And that's when Trevor realized something terrible. He wasn't just envious anymore. He felt entitled. Trevor started showing up more often after that. Every dinner invitation, he accepted. Every text from Marcus, he answered. Every opportunity to be near Olivia, he took. At first, he told himself he just wanted to be close to what he couldn't have, like a man pressing his face against a bakery window, knowing he'd never taste what was inside. But then he started testing boundaries. A hand on her shoulder that lasted too long. A compliment that crossed the line between friendly and flirtatious. Sitting too close on the couch. And when Olivia pulled away, when discomfort flickered across her face, Trevor felt something dark and satisfying bloom in his chest. She notices me. She feels something. It wasn't love. It wasn't attraction. It was fear. But to a man starved for attention, fear felt close enough. Then came a day Marcus called, furious. "Bro, Olivia keeps saying weird stuff about you. Says you make her uncomfortable. I told her she's crazy, but man, you gotta help me out here. She's pregnant and emotional, and I need her to chill." Trevor's heart pounded. Marcus was asking him for help controlling her. The irony was delicious. "I got you," Trevor said smoothly. "I'll talk to her. Smooth things over." But when Trevor hung up, he wasn't thinking about smoothing anything over. He was thinking about how easy it would be to walk into their house when Marcus wasn't home. How easy it would be to stand close to Olivia, to make her feel small, to remind her that no one, especially not her husband, was going to believe her. And he did exactly that. The day Trevor showed up unannounced and Olivia told him to leave, he didn't just leave. He drove 3 blocks away, parked his car, and sat there for 2 hours, imagining what it would feel like to walk back inside and take everything Marcus had. Not just Olivia. Everything. The respect, the life, the future. And slowly, a plan began forming in Trevor's mind. A plan that hinged on one specific day. A day when Marcus would be celebrating. A day when everyone's guard would be down. A day that would let Trevor destroy his best friend's life while making it look like tragedy instead of betrayal. Marcus's birthday. Evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it sits at your dinner table, laughs at your jokes, calls you brother. Drop a comment if you've ever trusted someone who turned out to be poison. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button now, we're so close to 500. Don't miss what happens next. Trevor stopped by Marcus and Olivia's house 5 days before the birthday. Marcus was in the garage, working on something, and Olivia answered the door, her belly now 8 months swollen, her exhaustion written in the dark circles under her eyes. "Marcus is outside," she said flatly, not bothering with pleasantries anymore. Trevor smiled. I know. I actually wanted to talk to you. Olivia's hand instinctively moved to her belly. I have nothing to say to you. I know you don't like me, Trevor said, his voice soft, almost gentle. And I get it. I really do. I probably came on too strong. I care about Marcus so much, and I guess I wanted to care about you too. As family. Olivia's expression didn't soften. We're not family. Trevor's smile faded just slightly. You're right. We're not. But maybe we could be, for Marcus's sake. He extended his hand. Olivia stared at it like it was a snake. She didn't shake it. Trevor lowered his hand slowly, and for just a flash, so quick Olivia almost missed it, his face twisted into something cold and hateful. Then the mask snapped back into place. Suit yourself, he said lightly. But Marcus is planning something big for his birthday. I hope you'll at least pretend to tolerate me that day. He walked away before she could respond. Trevor sat in his car that night, parked outside a gas station, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. She looked at me like I was nothing, like I was dirt, just like everyone else. He opened his phone and pulled up a photo of Marcus and Olivia from 2 months ago, both of them laughing, her hand on her belly, his arm around her shoulders. Trevor's finger hovered over Marcus's face. Then he pressed down, slowly dragging it across the screen until Marcus disappeared from the frame, leaving only Olivia. That's better, he thought. That's how it should have been. He closed his eyes and imagined it. Olivia in his house, carrying his child, looking at him the way she looked at Marcus. The fantasy didn't make him happy. It made him furious, because it wasn't real. And the only reason it wasn't real was because Marcus existed. Trevor opened his eyes, and for the first time, he let himself think the thought he'd been avoiding for months. What if Marcus wasn't here anymore? The thought didn't scare him. It excited him. 3 days before the birthday, Trevor went to a pawn shop 2 towns over. He paid cash for a handgun. The clerk didn't ask questions. Trevor didn't offer answers. He drove home, sat on his bed, and held the gun in his hands, feeling its weight, imagining what it would feel like to use it. Not on Marcus. That would be too obvious. On her. On the baby. On the future Marcus thought was guaranteed. Trevor's plan crystallized in that moment. He would wait until Marcus's birthday. He would wait until Marcus left the house, just for an hour, maybe 2. He would go inside. He would take what he believed was owed to him, and then he would make sure no one could ever have it again. But here's the thing Trevor didn't understand. Olivia had already made her own plan, a plan she hadn't told Marcus, a plan that involved a small camera she'd hidden in the living room after Trevor's last visit, a plan that would capture everything. Because Olivia knew something Marcus didn't. Silence wasn't surrender. It was preparation. As Trevor loaded the gun in his apartment, imagining the screams, imagining the power, imagining Marcus's face when he realized his best friend had destroyed everything. Olivia sat in her nursery, staring at the small camera feed on her phone, watching the footage she'd already captured of Trevor letting himself into her house the day before while Marcus was at work. Watching him walk through her home, touch her things, stand in the nursery, staring at the crib with that same twisted smile. She had proof now, but it was too late to stop what was coming, because Trevor had already decided, and Marcus's birthday was 2 days away. The countdown has started. Trevor has a gun. Olivia has proof. And Marcus has no idea his entire world is about to explode. Comment below. Do you think Olivia should have left? Or was she right to stay and gather evidence? And if you're not subscribed yet, seriously, what are you doing? Hit that button now. We're building a community that doesn't ignore red flags. Be part of it. The birthday was coming. Trevor was ready. Olivia was terrified. And Marcus? He was planning a celebration that would turn into the worst day of his life. Trevor bought a gun, not to threaten, not to scare, to destroy the future growing inside Olivia's belly. the future he believed should have been his. Meanwhile, Olivia had been gathering evidence. Camera footage of Trevor breaking into her home. Proof that the danger was real. But she made one fatal mistake. She waited too long to show anyone. Because while she was building her case, Trevor was finalizing his plan. And the clock just ran out. Today is Marcus's 33rd birthday. He woke up excited, surrounded by people who love him, completely unaware that his best friend spent last night loading bullets into a gun and rehearsing the moment he would pull the trigger. 5 bullets, all aimed at one target. This is the chapter where trust shatters, where screams echo, and where a celebration becomes a bloodbath. And here's the worst part. It almost worked. Marcus woke up to the smell of pancakes. Olivia had gotten up early despite her exhaustion, despite the ache in her back from carrying their son for 8 months, despite the fear she'd been carrying even longer. She made his favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes, crispy bacon, and coffee the way he liked it, strong, with just a hint of cream. "Happy birthday, baby," she whispered, kissing his forehead as he stretched awake. Marcus grinned, pulling her down gently beside him. His hand moved to her belly, feeling their son kick in response to his touch. "Thank you," he said softly. "This is perfect. You're perfect." Olivia forced a smile, but inside, her heart was screaming. Tell him about the footage. Tell him about Trevor breaking in. Tell him now. But she couldn't, because every time she tried to warn Marcus before, he'd chosen Trevor over her. And today, his birthday, wasn't the day to start another fight. So she swallowed the fear, kissed her husband, and pretended everything was fine. She didn't know she had less than 6 hours left before everything fell apart. Trevor sent Marcus a text at 9:47 a.m. "Happy birthday, bro. Got a surprise for you. Can't wait to celebrate tonight. You're gonna love what I have planned." Marcus read it aloud to Olivia, beaming. "See? He's planning something for me. Trevor always goes all out for my birthday." Olivia's blood went cold. "What kind of surprise?" she asked quietly. Marcus shrugged. "I don't know. That's what makes it a surprise." "Marcus," Olivia started, her voice trembling. "Maybe we should just keep it small this year. Just us. No one else." Marcus frowned. "Why? It's my birthday. I want my friends here." "I know, but—" "Olivia, please." His tone was gentle but firm. "Not today. I don't want to argue about Trevor today." She stopped talking, but her hands were shaking. At 11:30 a.m., Marcus left. "I need to pick up some stuff for tonight," he said, grabbing his keys. "I'll be back in a couple hours. You need anything?" Olivia shook her head, watching from the doorway as he drove away. The house fell silent. Too silent. She locked the door, checked the windows, and walked to the nursery where her phone was charging. She opened the camera app, the hidden camera she'd installed in the living room, and checked the live feed. Everything looked normal, but Olivia couldn't shake the feeling crawling up her spine like cold fingers. Something's wrong. She pulled up Trevor's social media. His last post was from 20 minutes ago, a photo of Marcus from years back with the caption, "Happy birthday to my day one. Love you, brother. See you soon." The words felt like a threat. Have you ever felt danger coming but couldn't prove it? That moment where your gut screams run, but logic tells you to stay? Olivia is living that nightmare right now. If you've been there, drop a comment. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. We're at 240, racing to 500 before December 31st. Don't miss what happens in the next 60 seconds. 12:43 p.m. Olivia was folding baby clothes in the nursery when she heard it. Knock, knock, knock. Her heart stopped. She moved to the window and peeked through the curtain. Trevor's car was in the driveway. No, no, no. She stayed frozen, praying he'd think no one was home and leave. But then her phone buzzed. A text from Trevor. "I know you're home, Liv. Open the door. I need to drop something off for Marcus." Her hands trembled as she typed back. Marcus isn't here. Come back later. 3 dots appeared. Then, I'm not here for Marcus. Olivia's stomach dropped. She backed away from the window, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Call the police. Call someone. Do something. But before she could move, she heard the sound that made her blood freeze. Click. The doorknob turning. He had a key. Trevor stepped inside slowly, closing the door behind him. Olivia, he called out, his voice sickeningly calm. Don't be scared. I just want to talk. She pressed herself against the nursery wall, her phone clutched in her hand, her other hand protectively over her belly. Call 911. Call 911. Call. But her fingers wouldn't move. She heard his footsteps moving through the house. Slow. Deliberate. I've been thinking a lot lately, Trevor continued, his voice growing closer, about how life isn't fair, about how the wrong people get the right things. Olivia's heart pounded so hard she thought it would burst through her chest. You ever think about that, Liv? His voice was right outside the nursery now, about how one decision, one moment, can put you on a completely different path. The door creaked open. Trevor stood in the doorway, and for the first time, Olivia saw him without the mask. No fake smile, no pretend friendship, just cold, empty eyes and a gun in his hand. Trevor, Olivia's voice cracked. Please, don't do this. Trevor tilted his head, studying her like she was an object instead of a person. Do what? He asked softly. I haven't done anything yet. You don't have to, Olivia whispered, tears streaming down her face. Whatever you're angry about, we can fix it. Just put the gun down. Trevor laughed, a hollow, broken sound. Fix it. He stepped closer. How do you fix 25 years of watching someone else live your life? How do you fix watching the woman who should have been yours fall in love with your best friend? Olivia's breath hitched. I was never yours. Exactly. Trevor's voice exploded, making her flinch. You were never mine because he got to you first. He always gets there first. The job, the house, the respect, the love, everything I should have, he takes. That's not how life works. Then how does it work, Olivia? Trevor's hand tightened around a gun. Because from where I'm standing, life has been screwing me over since the day I was born. And Marcus? He just floats through it like he's blessed. Like he deserves it. He's your friend, Olivia sobbed. He loves you. He pities me. Trevor's face twisted with rage. Every time he invites me over, every time he offers to help, I see it in his eyes. He feels sorry for me. Like I'm some charity case he keeps around to feel good about himself. Olivia shook her head. That's not true. Yes, it is. Trevor raised the gun, pointing it directly at her stomach. And today, I'm taking back what's mine. But then, from behind Trevor, a voice cut through the air like a blade. Put the gun down, Trevor. Trevor spun around. Marcus stood in the doorway, his face pale, his phone in his hand with 911 already dialed. Marcus, Trevor started, lowering the gun slightly. I can explain. I heard everything. Marcus's voice shook with fury and heartbreak. The cameras, Trevor. She was right. She had cameras installed. I got an alert on my phone 15 minutes ago when you walked in. I heard every single word. Trevor's face drained of color. You weren't supposed to come back yet. I forgot my wallet. Marcus roared, stepping forward. I came back for my wallet and got a notification that someone was in my house. And you know what I thought? I thought maybe Olivia was wrong. Maybe you really were just dropping something off. But then I listened, and I heard you. I heard everything. Trevor's grip on the gun tightened. Marcus, listen. 25 years. Marcus's voice cracked. I defended you. I loved you like a brother. And this whole time you've been sitting there hating me, planning to murder my wife and child. She should have been mine. Trevor screamed back, the mask finally shattering completely. This life should have been mine. You don't deserve it. You never did. Everything Olivia warned about is happening. Everything Marcus refused to believe is standing right in front of him with a gun. If you've ever been in a situation where the truth came too late, comment below. And if you're watching this wanting to know if they survive, subscribe now. We're so close to 500. Be part of this community. Don't look away. For a moment, time seemed to stop. 3 people, 1 gun, 25 years of lies between them. Then Trevor made his decision. He turned the gun back toward Olivia. "If I can't have this life," he said coldly, "neither can you." And he pulled the trigger. Bang! The first bullet hit Olivia in the abdomen. She gasped, her hands flying to her stomach as blood bloomed across her shirt. Marcus screamed and lunged forward, but Trevor shoved him back and fired again. Bang! The second bullet hit lower. Olivia collapsed to her knees, her vision blurring, her only thought on the baby moving inside her. Still moving, still alive, still fighting. Bang! 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 Trevor emptied the remaining bullets in her belly, every shot deliberate, every shot aimed at erasing the future he couldn't have. Then he dropped the gun and ran. Marcus dropped beside Olivia, his hands pressing desperately against the wounds as blood poured between his fingers. "No, no, no, baby, stay with me," he sobbed, his voice breaking. "Help is coming. Just stay with me. Please." Olivia's eyes fluttered, her breath shallow and ragged. "The baby," she whispered. "Save the baby. You're both going to be okay," Marcus choked out, even though he could see the life draining from her eyes. "Both of you. I promise." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. But Marcus couldn't hear them. All he could hear was Olivia's breathing, wet, struggling, fading. And all he could think was, "She tried to tell me. She tried to warn me. And I didn't listen." The paramedics arrived 4 minutes later. They loaded Olivia onto a stretcher, started IVs, shouted medical terms Marcus didn't understand. "Is she going to make it?" Marcus asked, his voice hollow. One paramedic looked at him with an expression that said everything. "We're doing everything we can." Translation, probably not. "And the baby?" The paramedic hesitated. "Sir, with trauma this severe. Will my son live?" Marcus screamed. "We don't know." They rushed her to the ambulance. Marcus stood in his driveway, covered in his wife's blood, staring at the house where his birthday had turned into a massacre. Police cars surrounded the scene. Officers asked him questions. He answered like a robot. "Trevor. Gun. 5 shots." He ran. They assured him Trevor wouldn't get far. But Marcus didn't care about Trevor anymore. All he cared about was the 2 people fighting for their lives in an ambulance speeding toward a hospital, and the horrifying possibility that he'd just lost them both. As the ambulance disappeared around the corner, Marcus sank to his knees on the driveway. The same driveway where Trevor had parked 1,000 times, where they'd laughed and talked and planned futures that no longer existed. And Marcus replayed every moment he dismissed Olivia's warnings. Every time she said, "He makes me uncomfortable." Every time she said, "Something's wrong with him." Every time she begged him to listen. And every time he'd chosen Trevor instead. His phone buzzed. A text from the hospital. "Emergency C-section in progress. Status critical." Marcus closed his eyes and prayed to a God he wasn't sure was listening anymore. This is what happens when we ignore the warnings. When we choose loyalty over safety. When we silence the people trying to protect us. Olivia is fighting for her life right now. So is her baby. And Marcus is living with the consequences of every time he said, "You're wrong." If this story is hitting you hard, subscribe. Share it. Comment. Help us get to 500 before the year ends. These stories matter. This community matters. Don't let this be in vain. Trevor is still out there. Olivia is on an operating table with 5 bullets in her body. The baby has a heartbeat. For now. And Marcus is realizing that some apologies come too late. 5 bullets, all of them aimed at destroying an unborn child. Trevor fired every single shot into Olivia's belly, then ran, leaving Marcus covered in his wife's blood, screaming for help that came 4 minutes too late. The paramedics gave Marcus a look that said everything. Don't get your hopes up, because with trauma that severe, with blood loss that catastrophic, with 5 entry wounds in the exact place where a baby was growing, survival wasn't likely. It was impossible. But here's what Trevor didn't understand. Mothers don't surrender easily, and some babies refuse to die. This is the chapter where medicine meets miracle, where doctors fight for 2 lives simultaneously, and where Marcus sits in a waiting room learning what it means to pray when you've lost all faith. And somewhere across town, Trevor is about to discover that running from what you've done is easier than living with it. 3:47 p.m., emergency surgery. Dr. Rachel Okonkwo had been a trauma surgeon for 16 years. She'd seen gunshot wounds, stabbings, car accidents, burns, every way the human body could be destroyed and still cling to life. But when they wheeled Olivia into the OR, even Rachel felt her stomach turn. Female, approximately 32 weeks pregnant, 5 GSWs to the abdomen, massive hemorrhaging, BP dropping. Get me 4 units of O negative now. Rachel barked, pulling on her gloves. And someone call neonatal. If this baby's alive, we're doing an emergency C-section. One of the nurses hesitated. Doctor, with this much trauma. I said call them. Rachel didn't have time for doubt. She had 2 patients dying on her table, and only minutes to save them both. The first incision revealed the devastation. Bullet fragments embedded in muscle tissue. Perforated intestines. A shattered section of pelvis. Blood everywhere. Too much blood. Suction. Rachel commanded, her hands moving with practiced precision. We need to control this bleeding before we can even think about the baby. BP is 60/40 and dropping. Push more fluids. Keep her stable. Rachel worked methodically, tying off bleeders, removing bullet fragments, repairing what could be repaired, and marking what would need follow-up surgery. But every second that passed was a second the baby was in distress. Fetal heart rate? Rachel asked, not looking up. The nurse checked the monitor. Her face went pale. Doctor, I'm not getting a reading. The room went silent. Rachel's hands stopped moving. Check again. The nurse adjusted the monitor, moved the probe, tried different angles. Nothing. I'm sorry, doctor. There's no heartbeat. Rachel stared at Olivia's exposed abdomen, at the damage Trevor's rage had inflicted, and felt something she rarely allowed herself to feel in the OR. Anger. Pure, righteous anger. Some monster did this. Shot a pregnant woman. Tried to murder a baby. No. Rachel's voice was quiet but absolute. We're not calling it yet. We're getting that baby out. Doctor, without a heartbeat. I said we're getting the baby out. Rachel's eyes blazed. I've seen babies come back. I've seen hearts restart. We don't give up until we're sure. Understood. The team nodded. Rachel made the C-section incision. Her movements fast but controlled, cutting through layers of tissue until she reached the uterus. And there, surrounded by blood and trauma and the aftermath of evil, was a tiny baby boy. Still, gray, silent. Rachel lifted him out gently, clamped and cut the cord, and handed him to the neonatal team waiting nearby. He's not breathing, one of them said urgently, beginning resuscitation efforts. Rachel returned her focus to Olivia, working to stop the bleeding, to repair the damage, to give this mother a chance to meet her son. If he survives. Behind her, she could hear the neonatal team working. Come on, baby. Come on. Chest compressions on a body, so small it fit in 2 hands. Oxygen pumped into lungs that had never taken a breath. Still no pulse. Keep going. Seconds stretched into eternity. And then, a sound that made everyone in the room freeze. A tiny, gasping cry. Weak, fragile, but alive. Against every medical odd, that baby just fought his way back from death. If you believe in miracles, drop a comment. And if you're not subscribed yet, this is why you need to be. Stories like this don't just entertain. They remind us what survival looks like. Hit that subscribe button. Help us reach 500 before December 31st. Be part of something bigger. Meanwhile, 4:15 p.m., Marcus sat in the surgical waiting room, his clothes still stiff with dried blood, his hands trembling uncontrollably. He'd been there for over 3 hours. No updates, no news, just silence and the sterile smell of hospital disinfectant and the clock on the wall ticking away seconds that felt like punishments. Tick, tick, tick. Each second was another moment Olivia might be dying. Another moment his son might already be gone. Another moment Marcus had to sit with the truth he'd been avoiding. This is my fault. Marcus replayed the last 6 months in his head like a horror movie he couldn't turn off. Every time Olivia said Trevor made her uncomfortable. Every time she flinched when Trevor touched her. Every time she tried to warn him and he dismissed her as paranoid, emotional, hormonal. You're just sensitive because of the pregnancy. That's my best friend. He would never. Maybe the problem isn't him. Maybe it's you. Marcus buried his face in his hands and sobbed. He called his wife the problem. He defended the man who shot her 5 times. He'd chosen 25 years of friendship over the woman carrying his child. And now she might die because of it. Because of me. A nurse walked past, and Marcus grabbed her arm desperately. Please, he choked out. My wife, Olivia Martinez, she's in surgery. Can you tell me anything? Is she alive? Is the baby? The nurse's expression softened. I'm sorry, sir. I don't have access to that information. But I promise, as soon as there's an update, someone will come find you. She gently removed his hand and continued walking. Marcus sank back into the chair and prayed harder than he ever had in his life. He thought about the morning. Olivia making him pancakes despite being exhausted. Kissing him. Smiling even though he could see the fear in her eyes. She tried one more time to keep Trevor away. Maybe we should just keep it small this year. Just us. And Marcus had shut her down. I don't want to argue about Trevor today. Those are the last words he'd said to her before leaving. Not I love you. Not you're right. I should listen. Just, I don't want to argue. Marcus let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a scream. God, he whispered to the empty room. If you're listening, don't punish them for my mistakes. Please, take me instead, but let them live. The clock kept ticking. No answer came. At 5:23 p.m., Dr. Okonkwo walked into the waiting room, still wearing her surgical scrubs. Marcus shot to his feet, his heart in his throat. Rachel's face was unreadable. Mr. Martinez? Yes. Are they? Please tell me. Rachel took a breath. Your wife is alive. Marcus nearly collapsed. Oh God. Oh, thank God. But she's critical. Rachel continued, her tone measured. She lost a massive amount of blood. The bullets caused extensive internal damage. We've repaired what we could, but she's going to need at least 2 more surgeries. The next 48 hours are crucial. If she makes it through that, her chances improve significantly. Marcus nodded, tears streaming down his face. Can I see her? Soon. She's in recovery right now. Rachel paused. There's something else. Marcus's breath caught. The baby. Rachel's expression shifted just slightly, and for the first time, Marcus saw a hint of a smile. Your son is alive. Marcus's knees buckled. A nurse rushed forward to steady him as he sobbed, his entire body shaking with relief and disbelief. Ow, he managed to ask. 5 bullets. How is that possible? Rachel shook her head slowly, her own voice thick with emotion. "I've been doing this for 16 years, and I have no medical explanation. The bullets somehow missed every vital organ of the fetus. His positioning, the angle of the shots, the way your wife's body absorbed most of the impact, it shouldn't have worked. But it did. Can I see him? He's in the NICU. He was born at 32 weeks, so he's premature and will need to stay for a while. But Mr. Martinez," Rachel's voice cracked slightly, "your son fought his way back from death. His heart stopped for almost 2 minutes, and then he just came back. I've never seen anything like it. 2 lives that should have been lost. 2 miracles in one day. If this doesn't prove that evil doesn't always win, nothing does. Comment below if you believe some people are meant to survive. And subscribe. Seriously, we're so close to 500. Don't miss how this ends. This story needs to be heard." A nurse led Marcus to the neonatal intensive care unit. He'd washed the blood off his hands, changed into scrubs the hospital provided, but nothing could wash away the weight of what had happened. The NICU was quiet except for the beeping of monitors and the soft hum of medical equipment. And there, in an incubator in the corner, was his son. Marcus approached slowly, his legs weak, his vision blurred with tears. The baby was impossibly small, barely 4 pounds, hooked up to wires and tubes, and machines monitoring every breath, every heartbeat. But he was breathing. His tiny chest rose and fell steadily. His miniature hands curled into fists. And when Marcus reached through the incubator opening and touched his son's palm with one finger, those tiny fingers wrapped around it instinctively. Marcus broke. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I'm so sorry I didn't protect you. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to your mom. But I promise you, nothing like this will ever happen again. I will spend the rest of my life making sure you're safe, making sure your mom is safe. I swear." The baby's heart monitor beeped steadily. A nurse standing nearby spoke softly. "Have you chosen a name?" Marcus hadn't even thought about it. He and Olivia had been planning to wait until after the birth to decide. But looking at his son now, this tiny warrior who survived 5 bullets, who fought death and won, who refused to let evil erase his future, Marcus knew exactly what his name should be. "Elijah," he said firmly. "It means the Lord is my God. Because if God didn't carry him through this, I don't know what did." The nurse smiled. "That's a beautiful name." Marcus stayed there for an hour, just watching Elijah breathe, counting every rise and fall of his chest like a prayer. At 7:15 p.m., they finally let Marcus see Olivia. She was unconscious, surrounded by machines, tubes running from her arms and nose, monitors tracking every vital sign. But she was alive. Marcus pulled a chair close to her bedside and took her hand gently, careful not to disturb the 4. "Hey, baby," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I don't know if you can hear me, but Elijah is okay. He's alive. He's fighting, just like you." Olivia's eyelids fluttered slightly, but she didn't wake. "I'm so sorry," Marcus continued, tears falling freely now. "You tried to tell me. You tried so many times. And I didn't listen. I chose him over you. I made you feel crazy when you were the only sane person in this mess." He pressed her hand to his lips. "You're the strongest person I've ever known. You survived this. Elijah survived this. And I promise, I swear on everything, I will spend the rest of my life being the husband you deserve from the beginning. The one who listens. The one who believes you. The one who protects you." Marcus sat there in the silence, holding his wife's hand, listening to the steady beep of her heart monitor. Beep, beep, beep. Proof that she was still here, still fighting, still refusing to let Trevor win. At 8:42 p.m., a police detective entered the room. "Mr. Martinez? I'm Detective Lisa Porter. I need to ask you a few questions about what happened." Marcus nodded, exhausted. Whatever you need. We have officers searching for Trevor Coleman. Do you have any idea where he might have gone? Marcus shook his head. No, he just ran. After he shot her, he dropped the gun and ran. Detective Porter made notes. We've issued an APB. We'll find him. Good. The detective hesitated. There's something else you should know. Marcus looked up. We pulled security footage from a gas station 3 blocks from your house. Trevor stopped there about 20 minutes after the shooting. And Detective Porter's expression darkened. He bought a full tank of gas, then drove toward the interstate. We think he's running, which means this could take longer than we hoped. Marcus's jaw clenched. He tried to murder my wife and son. You need to find him. We will, Detective Porter assured him. But Mr. Martinez, there's one more thing. What? When we searched Trevor's apartment, we found journals. Pages and pages of his thoughts, his plans, his obsession with your life. She paused. He'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. Marcus felt sick. There's also evidence he'd been breaking into your house when you weren't home. Photos of your wife, items he'd stolen, small things she probably didn't even notice were missing. A hairbrush, a piece of jewelry. This wasn't impulsive. This was calculated. Marcus closed his eyes, the full horror settling over him like a weight. Trevor hadn't snapped. He'd been hunting them all along. Detective Porter left with promises to keep Marcus updated. Marcus sat back down beside Olivia, his mind spinning with rage and grief and guilt. Somewhere out there, Trevor was running. Somewhere out there, the man who destroyed their lives was still free. But in this hospital room, surrounded by beeping machines and the smell of antiseptic and the weight of almost loss, something else was happening. Survival. Olivia's heart kept beating. Elijah's lungs kept breathing. And Marcus made a silent vow. No matter how long it took, no matter where Trevor ran, he would make sure that man faced justice for what he'd done. Trevor is still out there, running, hiding, thinking he got away with it. But evil doesn't stay hidden forever. And the story isn't over yet. If you want to see justice served, subscribe right now. We're racing to 500 before December 31st. Be part of this community. Drop a comment telling me, what should happen to Trevor when they catch him? Your voice matters here. Olivia and Elijah survived the impossible. Marcus is finally understanding what it means to truly protect the people you love. And Trevor? He's about to learn that running from what you've done doesn't mean escaping it. They survived. Against every medical probability, against 5 bullets aimed at erasing their future, Olivia and baby Elijah are alive. But survival isn't the same as justice. Because while Marcus sits in a hospital room counting his blessings and making promises he should have made months ago, Trevor Coleman is 200 miles away, sitting in a cheap motel room, watching the news report about what he's done. And he's not crying. He's not remorseful. He's angry. Angry that they survived. Angry that his plan failed. Angry that after everything, Marcus still gets to keep the life Trevor believed should have been his. This is the final chapter. The one where we find out if evil truly gets punished, or if Trevor finds a way to slip through the cracks like so many predators do. This is where Marcus has to decide. Does he wait for the justice system to work, or does he take matters into his own hands? This is where Olivia wakes up and has to face the truth about what happened to her and her son. And this is where you'll learn the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the biggest danger isn't the monster at your door. It's the person who refuses to believe you when you warn them. Day 3 after the shooting, motel room, 200 miles away. Trevor sat on the stained motel bed, his hands shaking as he stared at his phone. The news article was everywhere. Pregnant woman survives 5 gunshots. Baby born alive in miracle delivery. Survived. Alive. Trevor's grip tightened on the phone until his knuckles turned white. He'd fired 5 times. He'd aimed carefully. He'd done everything right. How the hell did they live? Trevor hadn't slept in 3 days. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Olivia's face, the terror, the blood, the way she'd collapsed but kept breathing, kept moving, kept fighting. He'd wanted her to suffer. He'd wanted Marcus to suffer. He'd wanted to erase everything they had so they'd finally understand what it felt like to lose. But instead, they were being called heroes. Survivors. A miracle family. The article quoted Detective Porter. This is one of the most vicious attacks I've seen in my 20 years on the force. But it's also one of the most remarkable survivals. This woman protected her child with her own body, and that baby fought his way back from death. They're both fighters. Trevor threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. Fighters, he screamed to the empty room. She's not a fighter. She's nothing. She's just some woman who got lucky. They both got lucky. But even as he screamed it, Trevor knew the truth. Luck didn't explain what happened. He'd failed, and now everyone was looking for him. Trevor knew he couldn't stay at the motel much longer. He'd paid cash, used a fake name, parked his car behind the building where cameras couldn't see it. But it was only a matter of time before someone recognized him. He needed a better plan. He pulled out the burner phone he'd bought at a gas station and opened a browser. How to disappear. How to start over. Countries with no extradition. But even as he searched, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered, "You can't run from this." Trevor ignored it. He'd been running from who he really was his entire life. Why stop now? Meanwhile, Detective Porter's office. Detective Lisa Porter sat at her desk, reviewing Trevor Coleman's journals for the 4th time. Each page was more disturbing than the last. Detailed observations about Olivia's daily routine, sketches of the house layout, timelines of when Marcus left for work, and scattered throughout, entries that made Lisa's skin crawl. She looked at me today like I was a stranger. She used to smile. Now she's scared. Good. She should be scared of what's coming. Marcus doesn't see it. He's so arrogant he thinks everyone loves him the way he loves himself. He has no idea I've been inside his house. Touched his things. Watched her sleep. The baby ruins everything. If there's no baby, maybe there's still a chance. Maybe I can convince her that Marcus isn't who she thinks he is. Maybe she'll finally see me. His birthday, that's when I'll do it. Symbolic. Poetic. He came into this world, and on that same day, I'll take away everything that makes his world worth living in. Lisa closed the journal and rubbed her temples. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a calculated execution that only failed because Olivia's body and her baby's will to live were stronger than Trevor's hatred. Her phone rang. "Porter, Detective, it's Agent Williams from the FBI. We've been monitoring Coleman's financial activity. He used a credit card at a gas station in Clarksville 3 hours ago. We're pulling security footage now." Lisa sat up straighter. "He's still in Tennessee?" "Looks like it. We're coordinating with local PD. If he's still in the area, we'll have him within 24 hours. "Good. Keep me updated." Lisa hung up and immediately called Marcus. "The police are closing in. Trevor's about to learn that you can't outrun your sins forever. But here's the question. When they catch him, will justice be enough? Or has he already taken too much?" Drop a comment with your thoughts. And if you're not subscribed yet, we're at 470 now, just 30 away from 500 before December 31st. Be part of this journey. Hit that button now. Olivia's eyes opened slowly, her vision blurry, her body screaming with pain. The first thing she saw was Marcus, asleep in the chair beside her bed, his hand still holding hers. The second thing she saw was the monitor tracking her heartbeat. "I'm alive." Her hand instinctively moved to her belly and found bandages instead of the familiar curve of pregnancy. Panic seized her. The baby, her voice came out as a rasp, barely audible. But it was enough. Marcus jerked awake, his eyes red and swollen. Olivia, his voice broke. You're awake. Oh God, you're awake. Where's my baby? Olivia's eyes filled with tears. Marcus, where is he? Marcus gripped her hand tighter, tears streaming down his face. He's alive, Liv. Elijah is alive. He's in the NICU. He's small, but he's fighting. He's so strong, baby. Just like you. Olivia's breath came in short, painful gasps. Ow! Trevor shot me. I know. Marcus's voice shook. 5 times. But you both survived. The doctors called it a miracle. Olivia closed her eyes, and the memories came flooding back. Trevor's face. The gun. The cold look in his eyes as he aimed at her belly. The sound of gunshots. The pain. The certainty that she and her baby were about to die. You didn't believe me. Olivia's voice was quiet, but each word landed like a blow. Marcus flinched. Liv. I told you he was dangerous. I told you he made me uncomfortable. I begged you to listen. Tears rolled down her cheeks. And you called me emotional. You told me I was the problem. I know. Marcus's voice cracked completely. I know, and I will never forgive myself for that. You were right about everything. I was so blinded by loyalty to someone who didn't deserve it that I put you in danger. I put our son in danger. He almost killed us, Marcus. Olivia sobbed. He almost took everything, and you would have spent the rest of your life wondering if you could have stopped it. I should have stopped it. Marcus stood up, his fists clenched, his whole body shaking. I should have listened the first time you said something was wrong. I should have protected you. And instead, I defended the man who tried to murder you. The room fell silent except for the beeping of monitors and the sound of both of them crying. Finally, Olivia spoke, her voice barely a whisper. I need to see him. I need to see Elijah. 2 hours later, with nurses helping and machines carefully monitored, Olivia was wheeled to the NICU in her hospital bed. When she saw Elijah for the first time, tiny, fragile, hooked up to wires but breathing steadily, something inside her both broke and healed simultaneously. Can I hold him? She asked the nurse. Not yet. He's still too fragile. But you can touch him. Olivia reached into the incubator with trembling hands and placed her palm gently on Elijah's chest. She felt his heartbeat. Strong, steady, defiant. You fought so hard, she whispered to him. We both did. And we won, baby. We won. Marcus stood beside her, watching mother and son together, and felt the weight of how close he'd come to losing them both. I'm going to testify, Olivia said suddenly, her eyes still on Elijah. When they catch Trevor, I'm going to testify. I'm going to make sure he never gets out. They'll catch him, Marcus said firmly. Detective Porter called this morning. They're closing in. Olivia nodded, her jaw set with determination. Good, because he needs to know that he didn't win. He didn't break us. He didn't take our future. She looked up at Marcus, her eyes fierce despite the tears. We're still here, and we're going to make sure everyone knows what he tried to do. Olivia survived 5 bullets to protect her son. Now she's going to make sure Trevor faces everything he's done. That's the power of a mother's love. It doesn't just survive, it fights back. If this moved you, drop a comment and subscribe. We're 28 away from 500. Let's finish this together. Don't miss the ending. Trevor made a mistake. He went back to his car. He'd been paranoid about leaving it at the motel, worried someone would recognize it from news reports. So at 3 a.m., he snuck out to move it to a different parking lot across town. What he didn't know was that the FBI had already flagged his license plate. And the second his car appeared on a traffic camera, every law enforcement officer within 50 miles was alerted. Trevor was 2 blocks from the motel when he saw the police lights in his rearview mirror. For a moment, he considered running, slamming the gas pedal and try to outrun them. But he was exhausted. He hadn't slept. He hadn't eaten. And he was so tired of running. Trevor pulled over, 6 police cars surrounded him within seconds, officers shouting commands, guns drawn. "Get out of the vehicle! Hands where we can see them." Trevor sat there, hands on the steering wheel, staring at his reflection in the rearview mirror. He looked like a stranger. Hollow, broken, hateful. "This is who I really am," he thought. "This is who I've always been." Final warning. Exit the vehicle now. Trevor opened the door slowly and stepped out, hands raised. The officers swarmed him immediately, slamming him against the car, cuffing his hands behind his back. "Trevor Coleman, you are under arrest for attempted murder, breaking and entering, and assault with a deadly weapon. You have the right to remain silent." But Trevor wasn't listening. He was thinking about Marcus, about how even now, even after everything, Marcus still got to be the victim, the hero, the man everyone felt sorry for. And Trevor, he was just the monster, the cautionary tale, the man who let envy destroy him. As they shoved him into the back of the police car, Trevor looked up at the sky and laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "I still lose," he thought. "Even now, I still lose." The courtroom was packed. Olivia sat in the witness stand, wearing a simple blue dress, her posture straight despite the pain that still flared in her abdomen sometimes. Elijah was 6 months old now, healthy and thriving, sitting in Marcus's arms in the gallery. And Trevor sat at the defendant's table, thinner than before, wearing an orange jumpsuit, his eyes fixed on the floor. The prosecutor stood. "Mrs. Martinez, can you tell the court what happened on March 15th? Olivia took a breath. Then she told her story, every warning sign she'd noticed, every time she tried to speak up, every moment Trevor had made her feel unsafe. And finally, the day he walked in her home with a gun and tried to murder her unborn child. Her voice never wavered. She looked directly at Trevor as she spoke, refusing to let him hide for what he'd done. "He fired 5 times, Olivia said clearly. "All of them aimed at my belly. He didn't want to just hurt me. He wanted to erase my son's entire existence." The courtroom was silent. "But he failed," Olivia continued, her voice growing stronger. "Because my son refused to die, and I refused to let him win." The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Trevor to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As they led him away in chains, Trevor looked back one last time at Marcus and Olivia sitting together in the gallery, Elijah asleep in Marcus's arms. The perfect family, the life he'd wanted, the future he'd tried to destroy but only made stronger. And Trevor finally understood. He'd never been robbed of that life. He'd never deserved it in the first place. Marcus pushed Elijah's stroller through the park, Olivia walking beside him, her hand in his. Elijah was babbling happily, pointing at birds and dogs and anything that moved. "He's going to be a year old next week," Olivia said softly. "Can you believe it?" Marcus shook his head. "No. After everything, sometimes I still can't believe we're here. We almost weren't." "I know." Marcus stopped walking and turned to face her. "Liv, I need you to know something. Every single day, I wake up grateful that you and Elijah survived. But I also wake up with the weight of knowing I should have listened to you from the start. I should have protected you better." Olivia squeezed his hand. "You're protecting us now. That's what matters." "I'll never make that mistake again," Marcus promised. "If you ever feel unsafe, if you ever have a bad feeling about someone, I will listen. Always." Olivia smiled. A real smile, the kind that reached her eyes again after months of healing. "I know you will." They continued walking, a family that had been shattered and put back together, stronger in the broken places. Elijah laughed at something only he could see, and the sound filled the air like music. Evidence that evil hadn't won, that love had survived, that some miracles refused to be explained. They simply are. The lessons this story teaches us. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Believe the people you love when they tell you they're uncomfortable or unsafe. Loyalty to a friend should never come before protecting your family. Envy is a poison that destroys from the inside out. Trevor's hatred didn't hurt Marcus. It destroyed Trevor's own life. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like someone you've known for 25 years. Someone you trust. Someone who sits at your table. Survival is not just about living. It's about refusing to let trauma define you. Olivia and Elijah survived 5 bullets. But more than that, they survived the aftermath. They rebuilt. They healed. They lived. And that's the real victory. If this story taught you something, if it made you feel something, if it reminded you to listen to the warnings before it's too late, then share it. Comment below and tell me what lesson hit you hardest. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We hit 500, but this community is just getting started. Subscribe so you never miss a story that could change how you see the world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to Olivia's story. And remember, the people who survive aren't always the strongest. They're the ones who refuse to give up.